It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Dutch. I'm your host, Mains, and my colleague in the danger zone in Rainford, to Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Greetings. I'm just seeing someone on Twitter trying to get Pop-Tarts to make a frosted ranch dressing Pop-Tart.
That's something that just never took off in the UK, that a Pop-Tart.
There is one very important reason why.
That's terrible.
Yeah, they're not food. Now, I have a terrible diet. You may have noticed this over the years. I wouldn't eat Pop-Tarts.
The thing I find about Pop-Tarts is a similar concept to why a friend of ours, friend of the show, soon to be married, Mr. Craig Allen, despises all kinds of pastry establishments. And that is because when you bite into said Pop-Tart or said cheese and onion pasty, it's molten lava inside.
Yeah, this is not fun. I go to Indian restaurants or I eat Mexican food because I expect a degree of spice and therefore heat. I don't want this from the steak slice from Sayers or the Pound Bakery. Other bakers are available, of course.
All the bakers are indeed available. Dutton, this week we get one of our best back on. The darling Liz Loza. Don't call her mom. Gonna find out if she's up for it tonight. Talking World Cup football, Neil, as England just take a 2-0 lead in the quarterfinals. We're also going to talk a bit of Baltimore Ravens and a chat with her new friend. Chad Ochocinco/Johnson, number 85, for those who are unaware. We've also got two absolute classic Weird Worlds. One about fire, and one about incest. Not gonna lie to you, trying to come up with something smart, but I haven't got anything, so we're gonna go with that. I'm also gonna not defend my honor.
Yourself?
I'm not gonna defend my honor. I'm just gonna call into question something that was brought on Twitter that I thought was just a chat, friendly, between myself, yourself, and Dan Hansis. And now, every time I look at my phone, is someone liking a comment or another comment attacking my position. So I'm going to attempt to defend said position as well, Neil.
I wouldn't bother.
I know, well, I'm
you're
going
wrong,
to.
as you're wrong.
We'll soon find out. But Neil, without further ado, let's get on with Weird World. And boy, have we got a classic here. Doctors accidentally set fire to patient's chest during open heart surgery.
Do you know sometimes the story can only disappoint after the headline? I suspect this is not one of those cases.
Subheadline, even better. The incident has prompted calls for better fire safety training in operating theatres.
Well, it's about time because this has been left to to run away with itself for far too long.
And then it gets better. There's a reason heart surgeons get paid on average $287,000 a year. Their jobs are stressful, the stakes are high. When you're in an operating theatre, Neil, and someone's life is in your hands, things can get heated. Imagine doing heart surgery on a person, for example, when their chest cavity suddenly and inexplicably bursts into flames. Imagine it. Would you know what to do in that? Would you know what to do in that situation? I would not.
I would poo myself.
Yeah.
So they are. I've answered I've answered the bell. That is what you would do in that situation.
This happened in a hospital in Melbourne last year. If I were to say to you, Neil, name two places where someone spontaneously combusted on an operating table, I know for a fact you would have gone Florida 1, Australia 2, because that's how good these places are.
Yeah, Australia would certainly have been in the grand final, should we say?
The case of a 60-year-old man who suffered a flash fire in his chest cavity during emergency heart surgery. There was a tear in the inner layer of his aorta wall in his chest. When surgeons cracked open his sternum and began to operate, they noticed the patient's right lung was stuck to an overlying sternum, an issue caused by several inflated air-filled blisters on the man's lungs.
Well, not a sturgeon.
No, that's a fish.
Yeah.
Surgeons attempted to unstick the lung tissue from the sternum, but in doing so accidentally punctured one of the blisters and caused a substantial air leak out of the lung. Then, in order to prevent the patient going into respiratory distress, the doctors increased the flow of anaesthetic gases to 10 litres per minute and proportion of oxygen to 100%. Let's take a moment to review the factors here, Neil. Pure
Okay.
oxygen all over the place, including some that's leaking out of a hole in someone's ruptured lung. And the doctors are using a device known as electrocorsity, which uses heat to burn or cut through tissue to carry out the operation.
Okay.
Yeah, as you can tell, the man basically set on fire.
Do you know there's some stories? Like when you watch disaster, not disaster programs, but like investigations, like air crash investigation, or things like that. Road traffic accidents, whatnot. This is all circumstances that I need the dramatic music playing, and I need like the man with the Michael Burke tone of voice intoning. Things like little did they know things were about to get worse. Things like that.
That's what I was thinking, Neil, is Michael Burke is the right answer. The BBC version have said was never as like exciting as the US version. It was usually like a man got stuck on a lake and he couldn't get back and he only had like 5 packets of crisps and he didn't know whether he'd survive. But, it was gripping TV and on BBC television in the 1990s.
It really was, and I say the intense music helped with the not always fabulous acting in the recreations, but the seriousness of the tone of voice Michael Burke employed it nailed it.
Yeah, for Americans or people younger than the age of 38, like me and Neil, well, 37, but they used to do reconstructions of said events with the guy talking over the top, or woman, absolutely magnificent. Now I can see where all that TV license paying money went, and why we're making old people pay for theirs now, because we spent it all on reconstructions.
Speaking of which, just slightly change the subject. Have you seen this phenomenon of Jonathan Frakes of Star Trek Next Generation fame, of course, hosted a show, I think it was called Fact or Fiction, in the 90s, and now basically people have started creating montages of him saying certain things, like the number of ways he says no, or the number of weird questions he asked when he was introducing a segment.
I haven't seen
it's on YouTube. I'll tweet out his Jonathan Frakes spends 45 minutes asking you weird questions, because some of them are. You obviously knew he was going to get to what prompted the question, but just apropos of nothing. It's things like have you been mountain biking? It's like not recently, Jonathan. Why are you asking me this?
Amazing. Neil, next story is a classic, and the only thing I've got to think about it is when family the headline should be family competitions go too far, or subheading shouldn't this be in Florida? Nebraska man marries his daughter, gets sent to prison, she gets probation. Just when you thought you'd heard it all out of people, Samantha Kershaw of Grand Island, Nebraska comes along and marries her biological father, Travis Fieldgrove, and cops say there was a definite sexual relationship going on. Please.
Sorry, isn't a Travis Fieldgrove somewhere that grows vegetables?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
There was a big investigation. It was determined that there was a 99.999% probability that Travis is Samantha's father. Don't know why we went to 3 decimal places there, but there you go. That's like the Patriots' chances of making the playoffs, because the AFC East has been such a dumpster fire.
Well, I'm glad you gave some context to that statistic, because otherwise we'd never have known just how likely it was.
It goes even deeper now, Dunn, and has a darker turn.
Rather unfortunate turn of phrase, but carry on.
Yeah. Just when you thought it was bad enough, there was allegedly a jealous fit that sent Kirsten into a race to have sex with her dad first. Her half-sister was also in the mix.
Oh my God. Who wrote this story, by the way? Was it a gentleman called Martin, with quite a lot of initials?
I can't say.
I know he's big on this theme.
Shut up. The pair first started sleeping together in 2018, a move Kirsten said was rooted in a jealous competition with her half-sister regarding who could have sex with their father.
Oh well, it's nice to compete.
Prior to that, they'd enjoyed a normal father-daughter relationship, Field Grohl told police.
I don't want to know what they consider to be a normal father-daughter relationship. Quite frankly, that terrifies me.
There's other words in it. Uh, he's a Steelers fan. I'm just looking at pictures.
What are you inferring?
I'm not inferring anything. I'm just showing that that's what he is. He's a Steelers fan from Nebraska who basically got courted by his two daughters, who were having a competition to see who could sleep with him first.
Ugh. You know how sometimes there are no winners?
There's no winners, Neil, in this one. This is just a lot of stuff that no one really should be involved in ever. It's gross.
Yeah.
But I would like to thank Dave Roddy for that amazing story. In
What was Dave looking for when he found this?
I don't know. I don't know, but I love his tweet related to it. If this isn't Weird World trademark material, I don't know what is. Believe you, Dave. If we don't know either,
Yeah.
If you like Dave, see stories like this, please send them to us. I'm at Mangy7. Neil is at N13, and combine me at waxing_lyrical. Incest stories we could do without, if I'm brutally honest. But I think it was the competition thing that really grabbed the imagination.
Yeah, I think we're good for incest stories now for the next 30 or 40 years.
Million years.
Yeah. But thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. Neil, let's move on to the NFL, and before we get to Liz and talk about, I don't know, I don't know. Let's go back. 1 day ago, in the midst of a ranking exercise connected to NFL 100, that's Mr. Dan Handers. 2000 Ravens or 2013 Seahawks. Who wins? Seahawks for me, Dan, says the one and only at N13.
A view echoed by many, including friend of the show, John Barshin.
I'd expect better from John, but let me step back. John, East Coast John from Philadelphia, decides to pick West Coast Seattle over Baltimore, which is within a 5 hour radius of Philadelphia. Ipso facto, he hates Baltimore.
Look, hero, you can copy him into that ranting if you wish, but as he's not going to be listening, let's be honest.
So I highlighted this may be an incorrect answer. Paul Frame highlighted that it was Trent Dilfer thrown against the Legion of Boom. I then said a flippant comment, and this is where you made your mistake. This is my mistake, right? Because I said at that point, like, am I the only one who watched the 2000 Ravens? I feel like it is. I'm not going to lie, that was an attack on UK fans everywhere. They answered the call. No, they didn't. Anybody who supports Seattle answered the call, and boy did they. Many likes. We all did. That's why the 2013 Seahawks is the answer. It's got 42 likes so far. A lot of stuff going on. I'm going to defend my position, Neil, of picking the 2000 Ravens. I'll be honest, I want to apologise. It was a flippant comment made at the spur of the moment, suggesting that most UK NFL fans didn't watch the 2000 Ravens. I'll be honest, that's what it implied. Mm-hmm. I'll be clear with that. That you've gone, ooh, look, the Seahawks must have been better because everybody's told me how bad the Ravens' offense was and how bad Trent Dilfer was. Neil, Dan Hans' question was, which team was better, the 2000 Ravens or the 2013 Seahawks? Mm-hmm. Now, I know we live in 2019, but that question was not which quarterback is better, Trent Dilfer or Russell Wilson. Because that's a no-brainer. It's obviously Russell Wilson. What it said was, which team was better at 2013? So not even Russell Wilson now. Not Russell Wilson when he was better and got beat in the Super Bowl. No. 2013 Russell Wilson against the 2000 Ravens. And if we just look at the defense, and then Legion of Boom, amazing, right? But let's not beat around the bush yet. Ray Lewis, Peter Bulwer, Jamie Sharper, Rod Hudson, Tony Siragusa, Sam Adams, not to drink, Rob Burnett, Chris McAllister, Dwayne Starks. Okay. The best run defense DVOA of all time.
So even better than the Bears, the 85-8 Bears.
According to context, right? That why I'm saying the 2000 against 2013, it was a very different NFL. Running actually mattered. You know, owning libs and not picking running backs was a twinkle in Denny Carter's eyes. And at this point, you pick LaDainian Tomlinson and won your fantasy league every year. We know it happened because we played against Ian Mullen and somehow we always got him. But you think, okay, Paul, you can give me a load of defensive stats, and that's not what we're talking about. We're not. And you're right, Neil. So everyone will go, yeah, well, obvious. Like, we're not saying that the Ravens' defense. We're just saying that the offense of the Seahawks was infinitely better than the offense of the Ravens. Man picks up notepad. Statistics can prove anything. So you could say that I've picked statistics to prove that I'm right. And of course I have, because I'm in charge of this show.
Indeed.
Rush yards, important in 2000. Still important in 2013. Ravens were 5th in yards per game. Seahawks, to be fair, 4th. Total yards per game. Ravens 16. Seahawks 18. Pass yards per game. Seahawks 25th. Ravens 22nd. And in points, Seahawks were 9th and Ravens were 14th. So what I'm saying is, I'm perfectly comfortable having the debate. But I think it is a debate. And it's not a debate on Trent Dilfer against Russell Wilson. Because Russell Wilson, although had a better offensive line then, still had a Seattle Seahawks offensive line. And also, they didn't throw it. They ran it. It was a running team. And they ran just as much as the Ravens. They got less yards in comparison to the rest of the league. You know, they got less pass yards compared to the rest of the league. So don't come at me with Wilson's better than Dilfer. Duh, I absolutely know that. Thanks, though. What I'm saying is that year-on-year comparison, the Ravens actually had a better offense in terms of high-level numbers than the Seahawks did.
I think as well, what we have to say, obviously, recency bias is a wonderful thing. What would have been perfect, because as you say, we watched that Ravens team and we can go back and we can look and we know that they were downright dominant. It's not their fault that they didn't get to play in the Super Bowl against a record-breaking offense. See, if the Ravens in 2000 had played St. Louis the way that Seattle played the 2013 Denver Broncos, so that it's and shut them down, whereas the Baltimore Ravens shut down Kerry Collins and the New York Giants. Now, obviously, they were quite explosive themselves to an extent, but I think that's also as well slightly caused the perception. I mean, they were both beat downs. Obviously, we saw them both.
But Neil, what I would say on that as well is, though, in the AFC Championship game, they played the Oakland Raiders. That year, the Oakland Raiders had scored 500 points in 17 games. He'd averaged basically 30 points a game. And against the Ravens, they scored 3. 30-3. Yeah. That's Peyton Manning against the New England Patriots in the snowbad. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I just thought to defend my honour, and I'm sure if anybody who liked or commented against me had their own podcast, they'd do the same, but they don't. So, I'm at Mangy7. See you there. Neil, let's be honest. It's time to get to the best part of the show, and that's our chat with Liz Loza to talk about Women's World Cup, to talk about Chad Ochocinco, and talk about why she also hates the Ravens, the 2019 version. No. And joining us now, Max and Lyrical. It's our pleasure and honour, as always, to speak to the brilliant Liz. Don't call me Mom Loza. Tonight, we're here to confirm if she is a goddamn delight. Liz, how are we?
Delightful, as always.
That phrase made me laugh, because that's what my wife usually says to me at some point when I've looked at her in a phrase of she's going to batter me now, or she's getting on it. She goes, I'm a goddamn delight and you need to accept it. I usually do at that point, so there we go.
My missus hasn't spoke to me for about 15 years. So she just sort of let me go.
If only we could all be as lucky as you, Neil.
Yeah, I always find that I tend to, I'm not a shy person per se, and so people are often surprised when I get up in my feelings about something. So I just wanted the world to know that I'm a goddamn delight.
And I think we knew that anyway, and I'm glad everybody else knows now. Liz, we could start with the NFL. We're not going to, because as we speak now, the Lionesses of England are 3-0 up against Norway, and are staring headlong into a battle with the good old US of A in the semi-finals of the World Cup. If, of course, the Americans can beat the French in Paris tomorrow night. Given your stuff for the Rush, which we've seen, fantastic. How confident are you that the US can go all the way?
It's a tough matchup. I mean, the home country is no joke, and it's not like FIFA or our president are exactly promoting us. So these are all things that we're facing. But I do think we have, as a nation, an underdog spirit. And so perhaps the lack of pumping up from our commander in tweet and the FIFA will motivate us to just slam. I do think it's going to be a good match. I'm excited for it. And I'm hoping that we push through, because I would like to see us play England.
As Neil will know, two of my favourite things in sport are total and utter arrogance and disdain for opponents, and FUs to the world. So when Megan Rapinoe, I think that's how you say her name, apologies if it's not, gave it the F no, I ain't going to no White House, I was like standing on a chair doing backflips. Bravo for her. Not sure I would have celebrated. No, I would have celebrated the 13th goal. Probably slid on my knees with taking my top off, but that's just me. Yeah, I think well, they're the best team. Comfortably, from what I've seen, they're the best team, but obviously that whole hosts thing usually does work.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I also think I agree with you. I too am all about unabashed confidence, which is different than condescension, right? Like, we can all agree there.
Right.
Like, I think that's why, if we want to bring it back to the NFL, why Baker Mayfield is so appealing, because it's refreshing. And here's somebody who's walking with swag that's not put on, but completely honest and organic. And I will take that over 1,000 dead behind the eyes, Russell Wilson staged, I'm going to have sex with my hot wife that may or may not have just been a contractual obligation for her. You know, like, give me that. Like, give me the gravitas. And also all the Proud Boys getting up in their feelings about how the U.S. should simmer down a bit and how these ladies are out of control. Has Bill Belichick ever taken his foot off the goddamn gas ever? And what are they called? The New England fucking Patriots? Are you? And when why am I forgetting his name, in the Packers coach who just got fired. See, he's so forgettable because
Mike McCarthy.
Thank you. Mike McCarthy would never. He's so vanilla. That's why he got fired. Eddie, remember all of the a couple of years ago when he was just like, we just needed Eddie Lacy to run the ball more, and he's single-handedly helping to close Aaron Rodgers' prime window. See, I'm so wound up. I'm not even using my words correctly. I've also been working nights for 4 nights in a row. But so I completely agree that I love this blazing eagle America bravado, and anybody who is tisking it can, well, I was going to say they can put their pinky back up and drink some tea, but I guess that doesn't really work on this show.
But I think the thing is with that, Liz, as you quite rightly point out, not that we're into stereotypes, but I'm sure that guy, the white guy from Alabama who's slagging him off, isn't bothered when Nick Saban's team put 750 on Florida Atlantic U. Do you know what I mean? So
I think the thing as well is Paul is, not breaking any secrets, Paul is good at sport, whereas I'm shit at whatever sport you care to name. If I could turn my hand to it, it would look terrible. So Maines has always had the attitude of, if you don't like what I'm doing, stop me. So, it's not why should I go easy on you? I'll just, if I'm going to score 30 goals against you, I'll do it. Whereas, me, I'm just like, please, just throw me a bone, please.
But you guys are not playing in a professional setting. This is the World Cup. Bring your best. I just don't understand. This is not, there's a difference between that and the idiot at, our Thanksgiving who gets a little bit too drunk and wants to go out and play football with his cousins and family members and is just going too hard, right? Know your place. This is the World Cup. This is an opportunity that does not come often, not even yearly. And so this is a chance for these athletes to be at their best and maybe never, ever again shoot a goal at this level with this many eyeballs watching. So, yeah, when you are getting paid to be an athlete, be a goddamn athlete and a competitor. It's the double standard makes me crazy. Now I'm pumped for tomorrow's game. Thank you guys so much. You put me in a fantastic mood.
It's what we're here for. Just moving back now to the other form of football. Just I don't want to see you blow a blood vessel. Talking about our version of it, as it were. One person who has garnered an awful lot of column inches or airwave debate and general seems to be splitting the footballing and the fantasy community this offseason is Todd Gurley. Now, everything the Los Angeles Rams have done would suggest that not everything isn't rosy. So from a fantasy point of view, bear in mind, obviously they matched for Malcolm Brown. They drafted Darrell Henderson. At the moment, in your opinion, is Todd Gurley a screaming fantasy value where he's going in drafts, or is he a player that you don't want to be anywhere near and you don't want him on any of your teams?
Value always happens at some point. I think right now he is slightly overvalued. He is the 11th running back going off the board in the beginning to middle of second rounds. That's high for me, especially when we know that this arthritic condition in his knee has been confirmed. As you mentioned, the Rams spent a third-round pick on Henderson, who McVay, by the way, called. And a lot of this is smoke blowing, but it's still a quote that he didn't need to say, the most dangerous offensive player in the NFL draft. And also, Darrell Henderson is a pass-catching back, right? He has that ability. He's got this gritty kind of underdog feel to his game, which is complementary, certainly, to Todd Gurley. I don't think that Henderson is an every down back. I think he's more of a compliment. I comped him somewhere between Giovanni Bernard and Tevin Coleman when I was doing my player analysis and comps. But I think for me, when you look at the fact that people are out of their mind about Nick Chubb having to split the season with Kareem Hunt and therefore going after Todd Gurley, that is crazy to me. That to me, Nick Chubb is a much higher ranked running back than Todd Gurley, because Todd Gurley's floor And that's the problem, is so damn low. We know his ceiling. We know his, the probable outcomes ahead of him. But his floor is still low. And also, you've got Cooper Kupp coming back. And how many PPR points did you get from Todd Gurley catching passes? But after week 10, when Kupp was gone, his number of targets, now admittedly it's a smaller sample size, so we can't rely on it completely, went from about 5 per, his number of targets, passing targets per week went from about 5 to 7. Cooper Kupp, let's assume he's back. Let's assume he's healthy. That's going to affect a lot of what Todd Gurley does on the field as well. You've got another back coming in. There's going to be a rotation. And when we are mentioning the arthritis issue, he is going to be treated with stem cells. The data there is so ambivalent. Jamal Charles didn't work. Noshawn Moreno did. I was speaking to a Rams friend who's an attorney, older guy, a girlfriend of mine. She's wife number 3, so she gets whatever she wants, except she's got to deal with like a grandpa as a husband. So anyway, he's a big Rams fan. He was asking me my opinion on Gurley, and I said, well, the stem cell stuff is a little bit interesting, but also there's not so much data. And he was like, I got it done on my knee. It didn't work. And I said, yeah, but were you 24 when you got it done?
No offense.
Right. And he was like, no. So again, we don't know. I know one human being who got the stem, and he's rich AF. Like, just you have no idea the kind of money this guy has. Well, he's got, 3 wives, or he's had 3, so that kind of money. But there was no expense spared on his knee, and he said the stem cells didn't work. But again, he was of a more advanced age, shall we say, than Todd Gurley. So again, to me, I think Todd Gurley, I'm going to take Damian Williams ahead of him, because when I look at the kind of holes that Patrick Mahomes in that offense can open up, I think Williams can run for days. Carlos Hyde sure might be a little bit of a threat, but I just don't worry about it overall. When I look at Nick Chubb, like I said, shit happens. He could get hurt. Who knows? I'm there to win week 1. I'm not planning the back half of my season. Also, Matt Harmon and I have talked about this on the Yahoo Fantasy Football podcast. If you look at all of the different pass catchers in Cleveland and you look at the step forward that Cleveland's defense is hoping to make, there's a possibility that the team has to rely on the run much more, especially down the stretch in the second half of the season, which could mean more for Nick Chubb, actually. And we don't know what's going to happen with Kareem Hunt. So when I look at those two backs, or I look at like Dalvin Cook, and I have Dalvin Cook ranked higher than Todd Gurley, but he's going about the same place. And I'm like, so you're worried about Dalvin Cook, who cannot stay on the field and be healthy, but you're not worried about Todd Gurley in the same way. So I think that there's a lot of incongruency here. Ultimately, if I can take him in the 3rd round, I'm happy. The beginning of the 2nd and inside the top 12 makes me nervous.
I look, moving on, Liz, two of my favourite things about writing and listening to your stuff and everybody's relating to the NFL is, I don't want people to sit on the fence, and I also don't want people to I want them to be unbiased towards all the teams. And then I read, there's no way this team goes over 8 wins. So the question on everyone's lips is, Liz, why do you hate the Baltimore Ravens?
Why do I hate the Baltimore Ravens? Because they are a team in transition. And you can look at their moves and you can look at the worst. So we have Lamar Jackson, and obviously the team is all in on his potential as the franchise quarterback, right? Or the face of the franchise. But we also can't deny that his accuracy is an issue. So what does the team do? I know they're talking about, we're going to run. Well, also, you can't run this guy 20 times a game if you would like him to be the face of the franchise, because that is not a sustainable or tenable. It's untenable. You just can't do that for his longevity. You don't want to RG3 this kid. So what do? You go out and get him the best damn ball tracker in the draft with Hollywood Brown, and then you get him one of the best 50-50 contested catch winners in Miles Boykin, a guy I really, really liked and had ranked pretty high heading into the 2019 draft. That means they are wanting, and also lots of talk about improving his mechanics. That is a focus. I'm waiting for the minute that he's working with Tom House. It's going to happen, right?
Oh, it's coming.
Sure. All right. So it's already happening. You're on it. So this Lamar Jackson, as he is today, cannot win games for the Baltimore Ravens, especially and additionally noting the fact that this defense has lost a lot of key pieces and is also in transition. I'm not saying that the Ravens aren't going to figure it out by November like they always do, but there's, 8 games y'all got to play before that point. And there's going to be some losses. And Cleveland coming up as a divisional rival is not just a gimme anymore. The Steelers, that's an interesting rivalry there too. So I feel like I don't think this team goes over 500 this year because there is too much happening and evolving on both sides of the ball.
See, I tend to agree as well. It's as you say, they've identified that they can't just say, well, we'll use one of our running backs for half the time, the other time it'll be Lamar Jackson. It's as you say, they'd be pretty expensive decoys if they've gone out and they've drafted Brown, Boykin. They've still got Mark Andrews from last year who looked good in spurts, obviously limited amount of work. It's just a question of, from a fantasy point of view, again, Lamar Jackson just offers this, if he can take a step forward in his passing, then he could be someone who, like late in drafts, could be something of a steal because he's got that rushing floor. But it's as you say, that especially if the defense isn't as good as it was, then it's even better for him if he develops.
Right, so he's going to need to pass more, right? That's the point. He's going to need to throw the ball more, which, I'm sorry, at the top of the season is going to mean more INTs. Like, that there are going to be a lot of really awful turnovers here. And I'm even going to say he can do it, but he's not going to do it week 2. And again, once defenses adjust, opposing defenses adjust, and they figure out the book on him, he is going to have to pass. Defenses are going to press him until he passes. Those are the reps. That's the experience. That's the learning curve. So, hey, 2020 is going to be a great year.
Mainsy sent me a text this week while we were trying to throw together questions, and I think he was deliberately trying to bait me until I actually read it. He wonders, as we know, there are certain players that, we grow attached to, that we, as you say, you had Miles Boykin rated quite highly. Obviously, Mainsy knows that I unconditionally love Kenny Golladay, and he points out that he's not someone you have particular high hopes for this season. Is that, I'm guessing, that's more to do with the situation than the player, as I really don't want you to be saying bad things about him, while we've invited you on the show.
No, I would never say anything bad about Kenny G / Babytron / you should know that one of my fantasy teams was called Rose All Golladay. So I am very high, and I think in part to you. In fact, Miles Boykin, I comped Miles Boykin to Kenny Golladay in my scouting reports back in, what was that, April or March. So yes, very high on Kenny Golladay. But this is about, you're exactly correct, the situation. Darren Bevel's going to want to obviously spread the ball around, focus on the run. I believe he said he wanted to impose the Lions' will on other teams, which is hard to, yeah, exactly. I mean, you either sigh or you laugh. Take your pick, right? So, but I do think that means he's going to spread the ball around. You've got Marvin Jones, you've got Danny Amendola, you've got Jesse James, you maybe have TJ Hawkinson. These may not be elite fantasy starters. Hawkinson's going to be interesting to watch develop, though, because I think that he is a special throwback player. But these may not be elite weapons, but they are bodies. And I just don't see Matt Stafford being forced to push the ball to Kenny Golladay like he has in Jim Bob Cooter's offense. Like, it's just a different style of play. I know that, previously to 2018, and maybe in 2018, though I haven't really examined these stats, when Stafford was in trouble and he was in a clutch situation, he would just throw it up and let Kenny G try to win the contested situation. You're going to see some of those. I'm not denying that Kenny Golladay is going to have a couple of games where you're just like, God damn, is he good? But the consistency isn't going to be there. And you've also got, if Kerryon Johnson can stay on the field and he's a pass-catching weapon, I just think there's going to be a lot of quick passes to Golladay, and we're going to try to slow things down here a bit and move to a Patriots Midwest sort of offense.
See, I did suspect, this was happening. I think it was just Mainsy trying to, stir trouble because of the number of anti-Washington stories I've been copying him into this summer.
I don't need you to help me find anti-Washington stories. I haven't needed you to find me anti-Washington stories for the past 20 years, but thank you anyway. Liz, speaking of wide receivers, it seems that you've got a new friend who you've been hanging around with. I don't know what you call him, Chad, Mr. Ochocinco, Mr. Johnson, but we spotted that you've been hanging around with Chad Ochocinco at E3 about building the future of sports and mobile games. How was it, and how was Chad?
I do call him Chad. I don't call him Ocho. I do call him Chad. It was great. We had actually worked together on mostly football previously, and then when Verizon asked me to chair this panel at E3 in Los Angeles, which is the gaming event, and they said it was with Chad, I was excited because he is actually one of the nicest, most generous people you will ever meet. He is one of the biggest competitors out there. I know people want me to say bad things, but honestly, he was a goddamn delight. Together we were delightful, and he was kind and generous, and anytime somebody asked him for a picture or an autograph, he had no problem stopping. He was completely amiable and just absolutely wonderful. We talked a little bit about Cincinnati. We talked about the change. I mean, he was obviously, Marvin Lewis has been there forever, so we talked about the move to Zach Taylor and how he felt it was going to go, and some of the players there that he still keeps in touch with. And, he has a definite soft spot for Cincinnati in his heart. And he's feeling pretty optimistic about the franchise.
I think it's one of those, it was, Chad Johnson was, obviously coming to the end of his pump when social media was around. And I think it's just, if he'd been able to play his entire career with Twitter, or whatever, what do the kids call these days, the gram, or things like that, it would have been literally, there would have just been we wouldn't have had Hard Knocks or All or Nothing. We'd literally just have cameras following Chad Johnson everywhere he went, and I think I'd be cool with that.
He was doing the Ustream back in the day, and he was one of the first to really engage with his viewers and with fans. I mean, people don't know this. He still plays soccer. He is playing in a soccer team in Florida. He's from Miami. And still in it. He brought his son with to E3, and his son is going to Arizona State, I believe, in 2020. He's declared to go to Arizona State in 2020. It's either Arizona or Arizona State, but I think it's ASU. His son was really, really nice. He was coming around with us. He was making sure to keep track of his son, and he is someone who is happy to engage with people. He is not a diva. And at one point, we were talking in one of the games we played, and we're supposed to be mortal enemies, but the conceit of the game is that we have to work together to fight these obstacles, and then between the obstacles battle each other. And I said to him, "Oh, we're mortal enemies, but have to work together. You know nothing about that given your career." And he had such a sense of humor about it and appreciated it. So I'm a big fan. He's great, and I got nothing but good things to say.
That pretty much sounds like our podcast, man.
Yep.
The mortal enemies, I say working together. I turn up, you throw it together, and then we move on with our lives. Last question for us, Liz. Obviously, it's always fantastic to talk to you. We appreciate you spending the time with us. It's that time of year, say it's slow from a content point of view because, training camps are starting yet. But I got this week, and I'm just wondering if you did as well, my invitation to the Scott Fish Bowl.
Yes.
Have you had yours?
Yes, I have.
Who, if I may ask, who are you? Are there any notable people in your division this year?
Well, now if I don't say everyone, people are going to be like, I can't believe she's such a snob. She didn't know who I was. So I'm in the Peaches League, and a lovely woman named Bronco Becca tweeted that she was excited to be in the league. So that's fun, but I mean, I haven't really looked. No. I mean, I've looked at my team. I've looked to see which character I'd be under. And I think my shirt from RotoWear arrived today because I received a notification, though I haven't checked my mailbox. So I'm all excited. Let's see. I've got Derek Myers. He's a fan. I've got BS Fantasy. I've got another fan. Oh, I've got John Laub from Football Diehards. These all seem like good people. I'm in the Princess Peach division. What about you guys?
What division are you in, Neil?
I'm in the Nathan Drake division, which is one of the few, video game characters of we'll put it this way, of my age, the only one I've heard of. Mm-hmm. I'm in with Jeremy Hart, who does, the fancy, the Rotoviz mailbag, and Pat Thorman from PFF.
Okay.
And another Brit, I'm in with Tim Jablonski, who does the Hateful Eight. Yeah. So I'm picking fourth. So I'm pretty certain, that I'm going to get one of the big running backs to start off. Then after that, I'll just let my team go to shit like it does every year.
Yeah, right. I'm picking second, which means I'm going to get banged on quarterback on the way back because everyone's going to start taking like Mahomes around the 5th, 6th pick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% guarantee he'll be gone in the first round, and too much collective shaking of heads from people like me.
Yeah, but this draft is always so tricky. Also, Scott does such a good job of changing the damn, quote, good job, annoying job, of changing the scoring system every year that I'm always like, well, now what the hell am I supposed... and I'm in like a million... It's right after the 4th of July. I'm still a little bit sunburnt with a T, as the kids like to not spell it correctly, and maybe a little bit beer-soaked as well. And so I'm like, oh, God, it's Monday, July 5th. Let's go do this. Wait. How many is this like third point PPR and a fraction of a touchdown if the running back is under 5'10", and then also quarterbacks and tight ends get premium only if they're developmental? Is it like you have to like put it all together? And I know, but at number 2, I'm hoping that this guy Derek Myers, whoever the hell he is, drafts Saquon Barkley so that I can take Ezekiel Elliott. I'm
sure Derek doesn't listen to this show, so I think you'll be okay.
Well, I'm not gonna shout out his Twitter handle just so I'm a goddamn delight. At me, whatever.
To be honest, Liz, I don't think we need to say any more. She is a goddamn
delight. You're just gonna stop it right there.
I am.
I'm just gonna
say yeah. She is.
Drop mic, walk off.
She is a goddamn delight. We're proud that we get to speak to her on a regular basis. So, Liz, thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day in sunny LA.
Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day in what I imagine is gloomy London.
And that was the brilliant Liz Loza, who we will let off for saying we were in gloomy London.
Yeah.
But,
it is gloomy, but we're not in London.
It is gloomy, but we're not in London. But whatever. Absolutely fantastic, and confirmed is a goddamn delight.
Absolutely, always a joy, always a treat.
So Neil, that's going to be the end of the show. But before we do, let's do what we always do and big up some of your articles that have been out since our last show. I say I have an article out on Number 5 at the moment. It's about Patrick Mahomes. It's how, yes, he's great. Yes, he's going to be good again this year. But the numbers suggest he's really not worth his current ADP, which is the 3rd round. And I say there's plenty of numbers, lots of charts, and the statistics to back it up. So that's at Number 5. I will be, chatting the usual level of gibberish and nonsense on the Twitter at @NUM13. I am at Mainsy7. I guess come at me, Seahawks fan. Shizzle. Probably shouldn't have done that, but you know what? There we go. Do you know what, Neil? We're goddamn delights too, and these goddamn delights are out.